Guys, ever since my semester ended and I got into summer break and I started actually caring a lot more about YouTube and putting a lot more effort into it and creating a lot more content, I've seen the support grow tremendously, and honestly guys, I have a lot of videos planned out currently. I have some XDefiant videos, some Black Ops 6 videos, some Warzone videos, some general modern gaming videos planned out, but after the success of my last video, I feel like it was necessary to kind of keep this momentum rolling on this whole topic of what could have been in Call of Duty. Now, you may have seen this poll on my community tab on my channel. Very simple question. Which game would you rather play? And I put out MW 2019 Part 2, Part 3, and MW2 Remastered. Now, unfortunately, that game doesn't exist, and we'll be talking about exactly why in just a minute, but over 4,000 votes, and I mean the overwhelming majority, is the possible MW2 Remastered as opposed to these other two games. Now, why am I specifically putting these games against it? Well guys, I'm here to tell you exactly why MW2 Remastered did not exist, and why, as a result, years later, we ended up with the atrocities of MW 2019 Part 2 and Part 3. Before I go any further though, make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoy, and please subscribe, help support the Scatmaster. Let's try to get as close to 25,000 subscribers as humanly possible, guys. But listen guys, in my last video we talked about Mr. Pat Kelly and some of his horrible decision-making skills, and as a result we had to send him to Epstein Island. But guys, in this video we have a lot of blame to place on Activision. I mean, as if that comes as any surprise. I mean, these guys are behind some of the worst decisions possible in the modern era of COD, and you know, when it comes to money, they don't shy away, alright? Like, if they have a chance, an opportunity to make a little bit more money, they're gonna do absolutely whatever they possibly can to attain it. Now, the reason I'm thinking about MW2 Remastered actually comes from a tweet from Nocturnal. Shout out to him, check out his channel, check out his Twitter, great content creator. He says, "Not so fun fact. MW2 Multiplayer Remastered existed. Beenox developed it as early as 2018. It was Activision's decision to only release the campaign, and it'll forever blow my mind." And honestly, I agree. Why we only got the campaign remastered and not the multiplayer remastered is actually pretty simple to understand once you have a good understanding of how Activision moves, how they move in this industry, what their goals are, what their agendas are. And maybe some of you guys didn't know this, but MW2 Multiplayer Remastered actually still exists to this day and age. We're just never gonna see it. And why? Because of the existence of MW 2019 Part 2 and Part 3. Now, if you guys remember, back in Infinite Warfare, we had one of the worst launches of a Call of Duty in terms of hype, in terms of traction before the game came out, and so Activision made the big boy decision to remaster Modern Warfare, the original, and pair it with that game, kind of like a get out of jail free card, and just try to boost sales as much as humanly possible on that game that was inevitably going to be dead on arrival. I mean, let's be honest, that game sucks. And then the same thing almost happened in MW 2019. Now, obviously, that game sold ridiculous record-breaking numbers because, I mean, it's the Modern Warfare name. It's not because it's a good game, it's because we nostalgia baited again. But after the success of MW 2019, I think Activision finally caught on to what was the next move. Obviously, make MW 2019 Part 2 or else the rebooted Modern Warfare 2. And I don't know about you guys, but you tell me, what would be the point in releasing MW2 Remastered anywhere close in proximity of Modern Warfare 2019 Part 2? It doesn't really make sense, guys, but here's the part that really starts getting annoying, alright? This is one of those moments where you kind of just sit back and grind your teeth and just, Activision, oh Jesus Christ, these guys. Guys, you remember the hype building up to MW 2019 Part 2? The entirety of the hype building up to that game was the fact that we thought we were going to get Modern Warfare 2 original maps in that game, because it's titled Modern Warfare 2. Now, of course, this is like the most anti-community thing Activision has ever done, where they got our hype all built up for that game, and then faked us out and did not give us a single Modern Warfare 2 map in Modern Warfare 2. I don't know how this makes sense to you guys, but to them, I guess it does. And why they did this was extremely interesting. They did this because they were going to push out MW 2019 Part 2, and actually include those maps in that game. Remember, this game that you're seeing in the background is supposed to be the DLC of MW 2019 Part 2, but Activision found it probable that the community was stupid enough to buy this crap for $70 again. And in this version, which is honestly just the faster patched version of last year's game, this would be the game to include MW2 maps. And of course, the Scadmaster needs to respond to this on Twitter. By the way, if you guys don't follow me, go ahead and shoot me a follow. These absolute people at Activision kept it so they could push nostalgia-baited hype down everyone's throats for both MW 2019 Part 2 and Part 3 and widen their sales as opposed to releasing this years ago. If this came out, there'd be no reason for MW 2019 Part 2 or 3, and guess what? MW 2019 Part 2 baited the most. In my eyes, that game probably reeks the most of just scummy behavior and practices out of Activision. Because let's be honest, does this game right here, MW 2019 Part 3, does it need to exist? No, not at all, because we could have just had it last year. But that's the thing. If we just would have gotten MW2 Remastered, then last year's game wouldn't have had to existed either. And you could make the whole argument, oh, but MW2 is just building upon what MW 2019 built. MW 2019 built the empire, the era that we now know as the Dark Ages of COD. Every single business practice that sucks originated in that game, aside from Black Cell. And you're not going to tell me that is not true. Every single feature we hate in the back end, everything on the system level over with Activision and all of these developers, all of those things originated from MW 2019. The success of that game piggybacking off of Warzone during the pandemic is what motivated Activision even more to keep this rebooted line of garbage going and never release MW2 Remastered. Could you guys imagine what the timeline of Call of Duty could currently look like if MW2 Remastered released? I'd guarantee you either one of MW 2019 Part 2 or Part 3 would literally not need to exist. And honestly, this should come as no surprise, guys. Everybody with an average IQ is starting to catch on to all of these scummy business practices out of Activision. Check out this tweet from the Ghost of Hope. He says, I get Call of Duty needs new things and returning things to market with the next yearly Call of Duty release, but it's crazy how many of those features are purposely held back from the current game because the next game is doing it. This even applies to Warzone with the integrations. Now, what he's referring to is just basic features that, for whatever reason, don't exist in this game, but they're gonna be used to generate hype for the next game, when this game currently could easily have it. Think of things like Pick 10 system. By the way, you absolute freaks that prefer Gunsmith over Pick 10, there's something in your water, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know where you're at, but something's unhealthy about the water you're drinking, alright? I'm just gonna put it out there. For example, guys, Black Ops 6 is not going to have Pick 10. But the following year, also supposedly developed by Treyarch, which is probably Black Ops 6 Part 2 or some other rebooted Black Ops thing that they're doing, is going to have Pick 10. Why? Because the thing that's generating hype about Black Ops 6 is already propelling it enough to catapult its sales extremely high. That does not yet exist for COD 2025, so they're saving some of these features for that period of time. The same logic applies to what I'm talking about with MW2 Remastered and MW 2019 Part 2 and Part 3. How the absolute hell would MW 2019 Part 3 work with no MW2 maps in it if we had MW2 maps in last year's game? This game would not need to exist. It would simply just be a patch with more original maps created by Sledgehammer Games. I think it's safe to say, if you know how to think for yourself and you can actually participate in critical thinking and not just mindlessly following the thing that looks like waifu anime bundles in Call of Duty, and you're not easily exploited by the prostitution tactics by Activision and Joe Seacott and now Pat Kelly, then you would agree with the Scatmaster and many others that the community hates Activision. These are some of the most anti-community tactics and moves that they are making. Once again, guys, the what if questions are always going to pop up. What if we had MW2 Remastered? Not only would there be no reason to play these current CODs, but all that nostalgia baiting would actually go towards something somewhat useful. Now, would they have ruined that game? Probably. I mean, you see how monetization is now, you see how monetization was back then. We had supply drops in the original Modern Warfare Remastered, people didn't really like that. What if they kept that going in the hypothetical MW2 Remastered? Or if that doesn't exist, then what's to stop Activision from adding these Battle Pass bundles and all of this nasty seasonal content, or even worse, Black Cell into MW2 Remastered? No matter which way you go, it seems like Activision at the end of the day is going to be, I don't know how to say it, guys, but they're going to be bending you over and they're going to be gaping you. Alright, there's no other way to say it. If you want to be gaped, then you likely don't see anything wrong with what Activision's doing. To the rest of us out here, all I'm saying is, no matter which way you turn, no matter which way you cut it, no matter which route you take, Activision has at the end of it somewhere originating something that you do not like. I will say one thing though, you look at the poll at the beginning of the video on my community tab, you look at the overall reception from the majority of fans with some actual critical thinking skills, I guarantee you the large majority of the community would rather play MW2 Remastered, even if they had some of the same scummy business tactics aside from SBMM, than play any of the last two Call of Duties, because these two games would simply not exist had MW2 Remastered came out. But if that game did manage to come out, then Activision would have nothing to leverage on as hype to generate more money off of pre-ordering these last two games. I mean, you tell me, did you pre-order MW 2019 Part 2 because you thought there was going to be original MW2 maps in it remastered? Probably, and if so, you got finessed. And then the same thing happened the following year, and you probably bought this game too. Scatmaster saw through that, and I did not purchase MW 2019 Part 3. The gameplay that you are seeing here is mine, but I'm playing this game for a whopping $0.00. A magician never reveals his tricks, but all I'm gonna say is, if MW2 Remastered came out years ago, I would have bought that. Sure, there'd probably be some scummy things within that integrated in it because of Activision, but I would prefer that experience over the last two experiences that we've had in this franchise. And with that being said, the entirety of every single COD since MW 2019 has just been an overexposure of horrible, nasty, scummy business tactics by Activision. And some people are luckily starting to wake up and see it, while there's still a lot of blind followers, a lot of gooch lickers out there. I mean, I guarantee you, somebody's gonna be in the comments crying about how MW2 Remastered would suck and how these last two games are actually good. All I can respond to you with is, we are literally never gonna know. And who's to blame for that? Activision. But that's gonna do it for me today, guys. I'm curious to know what you guys think about all this. Do you think MW2 Remastered would have been better than these last two CODs that we have? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with my newest videos, and yeah guys, it's been the boy Fooly. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out of here. Toodles.
This ain't in my body.